All right. Sorry for the delay, everybody. It made me re-log in for some reason. So we're all set now. All right. So looks like we got some questions that came in. All right. So we'll start here with Glenn P says, I hit the ball great on the front nine, but on the back, I started topping or thinning my shots. Even a couple drivers were worm burners. I'm 67 years old. I have a feeling I was coming up and out of it as I ran out of gas. Only the second round of golf this year in Idaho. Um, yeah, so it sounds like you're asking, how to, maybe get through a round. I didn't really see a question in there anywhere, but yeah, so that can happen. Fatigue is definitely a part of things. So as you get, um, more and more seasoned and more into the season, that should get better as you get in better condition. So, but if that ever does start happening, you just want to be aware of it, right? So if you start thinning shots, that's typically or topping shots, it's typically because the bottom of your swing arc just isn't getting in front of the golf ball, right? So if you imagine this is our swing arc, right? The club comes down in an arc, and let's say that my fist is the golf ball. Well, this is ideally what we'd want to have. We'd want to have that arc working down on the ball, bottoming out in front of the golf ball. Well, if you're hitting thin in top shots, typically what's happening is the bottom of your swing arc is at the ball, right? So if I hit a thin shot, which is typically going to be my best case scenario when the bottom of my swing arc is at the ball, you can see if I hit the ground from here, the club's going to hit the ground back here way before the golf ball. That's going to be a chunk. If I hit the ground where the ball is, like if I just skim it, I'm going to hit it thin. And if I don't get to the ground, I might top it. So if I had to guess, without looking at your swing, really just making it as educated guess as I can, that the bottom of your swinging arc is occurring at the ball, and you need to get your swing arc in front of the ball and swing with the intention of hitting the ground, right? So the best thing you can do for that would be to really emphasize getting a good weight shift. So the first time you get a thin, let's say you're on, hole 11 and you get like your first thin shot after hitting most of them pretty solid, then I'd really focus on getting a good weight shift and see if that helps you to start making more solid contact. Because if I get a good weight shift, then that shifts my bottom of my swing forward. If I hang back, right, the bottom of my swing is going to be more before the ball or at the ball, and I'm going to tend to hit those thin, top them, that sort of thing. So Old Barn says, where in the upswing do you cock your wrists, and where in the downswing do you uncock your wrists? Yeah, so basically in the backswing, it's a very, very gradual cocking of the wrist as you go up to the top. So typically from here to, let's say, club parallel, there's going to be a very, very small amount. We don't want a lot, because if we do, we're going to tend to not turn our shoulders. There's some players that just don't have much at all, or have almost none to that point. But from here to here, there's going to be a pretty small amount or none, right? When we look at the better players, that's what we're seeing. So typically your hands are going to be clear of your body, when you're looking from this angle, by the time your club is parallel to the ground. If we cock our wrists early, typically our hands aren't going to be past our body, right? So that's typically what we're going to see in the better players. Now, as we get up to here to about lead arm parallel in the backswing, you're typically going to see a little bit more than a 90-degree angle between the lead arm and the shaft. So you can see it's cocked up a little bit. It's very, very gradual. Then as I get up to the top, right, I'm going to typically have about a 90-degree angle between my lead arm and my shaft. So at address, I've got, if you look at it from this angle, right, I've got, whatever you want to say, 160 degrees between my arms and the shaft. And then as I go to the top of the swing, it basically becomes that much, right? So I go here, that's the top of the swing, right? Now in the downswing, we're actually going to continue to cock our wrist. We're actually going to make that angle between our lead arm and the shaft a little bit smaller as we're coming down. That's typically what we see. Some players keep it about the same, but most players you're going to see, better players you're going to see, it's going to get a little bit smaller. So we're going to be here. We're going to be about 90 degrees. Then in the downswing, you may see it get a little bit less, right? Now at this point in the swing, this is the lead arm parallel position. we often call this the maximum lag position. So what that means is that the club head is behind your hands as much as possible. Your wrists are cocked to the maximum amount at this point in the swing. This is the point in the swing when they start to release. So they've reached the maximum cocking, you could say, and now they're going to start to uncock as they come down. And again, all the way down to the ball, and actually all the way into the release position, the straight line release position. That is happening very gradually in the beginning, and then it happens more quickly as we get to the ball and into the release, right? So in slow motion, it would look like this. I'm going to increase my wrist cock, right, to here. And then from here down to the ball, it's going to be gradual, right? Typically, when my hands are getting or approaching my trail leg, that club is going to be pretty close to parallel to the ground when we look at the better players. And as we come into contact, that's going to release into the ball, right? Typically at impact, my hands are going to be somewhere in front of my lead leg, right? And then after impact, I'm going to release that club out in front, roughly about 45 degrees. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like we measured all the best players, all the major winners from the last 20, 25 years. And the average is about 41 degrees. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't, if you're at 38 degrees, you don't really need to keep working on it to get it to 45 degrees. You're in good shape. You're in that. There's an acceptable range that we'd be looking for. So acceptable range would be anywhere between 27 degrees and 55 degrees. That was the acceptable range that we found. So someone like a Martin Keimer, right? He's won a couple majors, maybe 3 majors. I can't remember. I think he won the PGA twice and the U.S. Open once. He releases it around 27 degrees, right? And then you look at someone like Dustin Johnson, who releases it, about 55 degrees. So there's an acceptable range there that you can make. You don't have to strive to get to that perfect 45 degree number. We say 45 degrees because that is the easiest angle for most people to understand, to compute in their brain, right? Because I know what a 90 degree angle looks like, right? That's just a square angle, and then half of that is 45. So that'd be, like an equal triangle, basically, is what you'd be looking at. So that's what we're, that's the release position out in front. So that's happening gradually as we come all the way through. Now to work on this, if you want to work on this is within the Top Speed Golf system. So the Top Speed lag course, and actually even in the power turn course, we talk about this because we talk about getting a wide takeaway in the power turn course. You can work through the power turn course to work on that wide takeaway so that way you're not cocking your wrist too early. And then the top speed lag course is more getting that, from the top of the swing to that maximum lag angle. And then the straight line release course is where we work on releasing that out in front. We work on uncocking. That's basically what the release is uncocking your wrist. All right, let's keep going. So Charles H. Says, I recently had a friend video my driver swing. I'm casting from the top after establishing wrist set and losing all the angles by last parallel. How do I fix it? Well, I would recommend working through our Top Speed Golf system. The Top Speed lag course, we have a course of drills and exercises to help you to get rid of that. So that's what I would recommend doing if you kind of want to work through it on your own. We have lots and lots of drills in there. Now, if you want to try to get it fixed faster, then I would recommend working with an instructor that can pinpoint the specific things, because there's lots of reasons why people cast the club. And a good instructor is going to be able to pinpoint those things and help you to work on them specifically and give you drills that will specifically address the reasons why you're casting the club. So yeah, I would recommend maybe working with the instructor. We do offer those online lessons if you'd like to sign up. Let me see. I know Michael opened up spots yesterday, but he may have sold out. Let me check and see. So right now, Michael has got some spots available. He's the only instructor that has any spots available at the moment. So yeah, if you're interested, then you can just click the instruction tab or the instruction link or the get a review link at the top of the page there. And then you can sign up for his online swing reviews. But if you want to work through that top speed lag course, you go to the instruction tab, then you can go to the top speed golf system, and then go to the top speed lag course, and that'll help you work through the drills to help you get rid of that. All right, let's keep going. So TJ says, Q, in the downswing, I get my hips open, but I'm having trouble getting my chest open enough at impact. How best to work on syncing my upper body with my arms? So what you can do is you can do a drill where you put an alignment stick kind of through your belt loops. So that'd be something like this. This is a drill from the power turn course where you're syncing everything up. So through the belt loops. So this is kind of identifying my hip turn, right? And then you can put another alignment stick or a club up here on your shoulders, right? So basically what you would do is you would go up to the top, and you can see how I've got about a 45-degree hip turn, and I've got about a 90-degree shoulder turn, right? So you don't have to stop there. If you could do more, then that'd be even better. Like I could do more. I can get a little bit more of a hip turn, a little bit more of a shoulder turn, right? But that would be the top of the swing, right? And then here in the downswing, what I'd want to do is I'd want to kind of keep that separation initially, right? So I'm here. I'm going to keep that separation initially here, right? And I'm going to try to get my hips back to square. So you can see my left hip's angled more down, which it should be, but I'm getting those hips back to square. And then from there, I'm going to get my body opening up. Here, I'm going to try to match these up as I imagine I'm releasing that club out in front, right? So I'm here, and I'm going to try and separate it, and then I'm going to try and get them to catch up to where they both be pointing about 45 degrees out in front. That's the release position, right? That's where we're syncing everything up and releasing it. So I'm here at the top. I'm going to keep that separation initially, and then as I turn my body to 45 degrees, that's going to get everything to sync up. All right. So that'd be a good thing that you can do at home to kind of help you to train getting those things synced up. I believe that's in level 3 of the power turn course. If you want to check that out as well. To get to that course, click the instruction tab, then power turn or instruction tab, top speed golf system, power turn, and it's level 3 from the power turn course. So Paul S says, what's your theory opinion on trail hand placement? You mean as far as like the grip is concerned? So generally speaking, what I would say is you more or less want to match it up with your lead hand, right? So if let's say I have a kind of a neutral grip, meaning, my thumb, if you think of the top of the club being 12 o'clock, my thumb's like at 1:30 on the club, right? And I'm going to take my trail hand in there, and I'm either going to my thumb pad here. I'm either going to put that on top of my thumb, or I'm going to put it on the side of my thumb, right? Typically, somewhere in that area is going to be a good place to be, right? And that matches your hands up pretty well. Now, I will say that if you are someone who struggles with getting the club face closed, right? Then what I would do is I'd have your trail hand more under, because that's going to help you to close the face more, right? So if I have my let's say I have my trail hand more on top like this, it's hard for me to, that's as much as I can close the face down, right? So if I hold this out in front of me and my trail hand is on top of the club like this, that's as much as I can kind of turn it down. Now imagine if I take it and I put it under it like this, and I hold it in front of me. Now look how much I can turn that. I can twist that face around 180 degrees, right? So if you're someone who struggles, leaves the face open, you hit slices, you come over the top, you come down steep, I would recommend having that thumb pad more on the side of your thumb. Now, if you're someone who struggles with closing the face too much, right? You get snap hooks, right? The face is just too closed, right? Then you may be someone who benefits with putting it more on top, putting that thumb pad more on top. So really, what you do in your swing is going to be dependent on what your struggles are, what your tendencies are, right? So if you struggle to leave the face open, I put it more on the side. If you struggle to have the face too closed, I put it more on top, more toward the top. The vast majority of people are going to be more putting it more on the side, because the vast majority of golfers I see tend to leave the face open. Sorry, I got a fridge in my office here and it's buzzing. So I got to smack it until it stops buzzing. I'll get it fixed eventually. All right, let's keep going. So Paul G says, I get a lot of pain in my right big toe after golf. Is there anything I can do to prevent this? I suspect I'm too much on my toes on the downswing. Yeah, I would just try to, you should be kind of unweighting your trail foot. So assuming you're right-handed, if you're getting a lot of pain in your right toe, it means you're probably kind of pushing and putting a lot of pressure on it. So when you come around to a full finish, right, this leg, you should almost be able to kind of be right here and kind of tap your toe, right, and be in balance. So what you can do is just kind of do some drills like that. Go up to the top, so make sure you shift your weight to your trail side, come all the way around to your full finish. Try to feel like 100% of your weight is here, right? And you can just tap your toe. And if you do that and you get good at doing that, more than likely your toe pain will go away if it's being caused by something like that. Now, there could be, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. There could be some other underlying things going on there. I hope not, but hopefully that helps. But I would imagine you're probably just putting a lot of pressure on your trail foot, and through the finish when you really don't need to be. All right, so Chet M says, if the best club path for a draw is an in to out swing with the club head moving to the right of the target line, why is the straight line release positioned on the target line and not to the right of the target line? Because the club works around your body, right? The club doesn't keep going out that way. It works around your body, right? So my hands are working to the left around my body, which is going to make my club's not going to keep going out to the right. It's going to turn the corner, right? So if you imagine this is the path of my club, right? It's working in an arc around my body. So it's almost like a planet with the rings around it, right? It's working around me in a circle, right? It doesn't just keep going. It's working out to the right, out to the right, out to the right. It doesn't keep going out to the right. It's going to keep working around my body. So as it works around my body, it's going to point, it's going to continue to point, and it's going to generally be pointing up the target line in the straight line release position. It's going to be pretty close to that. Now, if you have a path that's very much in to out, it may be more to the right of the target line. If you have a path that's very much out to in, it's going to be left of the target line, right? So if you're someone who struggles with an in to out path, or having trouble getting it to work into out, it could be beneficial for you to feel like the club is releasing more out to the right. And if you're someone who struggles with too shallow, too much from the inside, it can actually be beneficial for you to feel like the club is releasing to the left of the target line. But generally speaking, it's going to be pointing pretty close to that target line as you're coming through, because the club works around your body in a circle, just like this. All right, let's keep going. All right, so David says, I struggle to understand what the forearms and wrist are supposed to do in the release. How would you describe what is happening? The best way I would describe it is with the trail hand. It's like throwing a ball kind of sidearm, right? So if I'm here, my arm's going to come in like this, and I'm going to throw it. And a lot of times my hand is going to kind of roll over. My forearm's going to roll over. So my wrist is going to bend back, and then it's going to release. And then, my forearm can roll over. And a lot of this depends on your grip. If you have a very strong grip, there may not be as much rolling over. If you have a weaker grip, there may be more rolling over. But generally speaking, it's like throwing a ball. It's like skipping a rock across the water. With the lead arm, it's going to be like throwing a frisbee, right? I'm going to bend my wrist back, and I'm going to release it. My arm can roll over, right? Then a lot of that's just going to depend on the grip and what the face is doing as you're coming through. So what I would say is, if you're someone who leaves the face open, I feel the arms rolling over more, right? And if you're someone who gets the face too close, I'd feel like they're not rolling over. So that's what I'd be kind of trying to feeling in the swing, depending on what your issue is. So Jerry B says, I recently started shanking my 54-degree sand wedge, especially on small shots. Is this likely a path problem When I take full swings with a good lower body movement, my contact is good, but a bit on the hosel side of the club face. Yeah, you just need to try to hit the ball off the toe. Change your intention to hitting the ball off the toe, and you keep doing that until you actually start hitting the ball off the toe, and then you can tone it down. What we want to understand is that wedges are going to be the clubs that you most likely are going to shank. And the reason is because the hosel is much more protruded than any other club, right? So this is like a 50-degree wedge. It's a kind of like an approach attack wedge, you could call it. But you can see how this is much more, there's more of a hosel here, right? So if I hit the ball right here, it's going to be more likely to hit that. But on my driver, very low lofted club, the lowest lofted club, there's really no, the hosel's up here, so you're more than likely not going to hit that. But if you hit it toward the heel, you could hit it off the edge of the heel, and it's not gonna be a shank, right? It's not going to be off the hosel because it's not protruded. So that's why, and a lot of times the faces, sometimes on wedges, the width of the faces can be a little bit smaller as well for some reason. So that also makes it a little bit more difficult. A lot of times people are trying to cut across wedges. So it could be a path issue. That could be part of it. But I will tell you, even if you have a path issue, if you try to hit the ball off the toe, you change your intention to hit the ball off the toe, you won't shank it if you commit to it, right? But yeah, if your path is way too much from the inside, right, then the sweet spot can be working away from you too much, and that can make it easier to hit a shank. If you're going this way with your path, and a lot of times when you go this way with your path, your face is open, right? So if imagine the golf club coming to the ball like this, right? Basically, that hosel is like leading the way. I only have this much club face to hit. Whereas if it's square, right, now I've got all this club face to hit. So if you're kind of going like this, right, you may tend to hit some shanks because of that. But even then, if you try to hit the ball off the toe, it would likely improve. So those would be kind of the, I would look at yourself on video and kind of see what's going on. But those, yeah, if you're swinging too much from the inside or too much out to in, you can definitely, be more susceptible to shanks. So that'd be definitely something to look at. So GW says, been working on top speed for 1.5 years. All clubs are consistent with senior PGA averages except driver. Driver is 30 to 40 yards short. Same distance as 5-wood. Any suggestions on what to work on? Well, it really depends on what exactly is, what exactly is making the distance shorter. So it's either going to be club head speed or it's going to be the contact, right? Now there could be some things like maybe your driver's broken, right? You could have a crack in your driver. Your driver could be not really optimized for you. So if you're not fit for your driver very well, that can be part of it as well. But generally speaking, let's assume that you have the best driver possible for you, right? There's no cracks in it. Everything's good. Then what you would look at is if your club head speed is the same as the the senior PGA averages that you've seen, then the problem is that you just don't have enough club head speed with your driver. So, I would work on trying to gain some club head speed because club head speed is the limiter, right? If you want to hit it a certain distance, you have to swing a certain speed, right? So generally you're going to get about 2.6 yards for every mile per hour. So if I want to hit the ball 260 yards, right, I better be swinging 100 miles an hour. If I want to be doing that on average. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't hit it. It doesn't mean you can't hit it 280 yards with a 100 mile per hour swing. It just means that you're going to need some help in order to do that. You're going to need to be maybe at elevation. It needs to be a really warm day in firm conditions. It needs a little help from, sprinkler head or something like that. But generally speaking, you're going to get about 2.6 yards. So if you're swinging 100 miles an hour and you're hitting it 220, then that's a contact issue, right? There's something going on. You're not hitting it in the center of the face. You're hitting down on the ball, maybe. And again, your driver may not be fit for you very well. Now, let's say, I don't know what the senior PGA averages are, but let's say that it's 260 yards, right? Let's say it's 260 yards off the tee, and let's say it's 100-mile-per-hour clubhead speed is what we're seeing. I don't know exactly what it is, but let's just say that it is. Well, if you look at your clubhead speed and it's 90 miles an hour, well, then you need to gain clubhead speed, right? So if you're wanting to hit it that far. So you have to that's how you would kind of look at it. So is it clubhead speed or is it contact? Right? Now, if you let's say that you have the clubhead speed, right? The first thing that I would do is I would use some foot power spray and I'd see where you're hitting it on the face, right? If you're not hitting it out of the middle of the face or even like slightly toward the toe a little bit, and when I say slightly, I'm saying like a quarter inch toward the toe, you're not going to be transferring that energy to the ball, because what happens is when you don't hit the ball in the center of the face will twist, right? So if I hit the ball here, way out here, it's going to twist. I'm not going to transfer the energy to the ball. So I might have 100-mile-per-hour clubhead speed, but I'm not transferring that to the golf ball because I'm hitting it out here. And on the heel, it'd be even worse. The reason is that the heel moves slower. So if I have 100-mile-an-hour clubhead speed, that's from here. That's from this little dot on the face. Over here, it might be 93 miles an hour, right? So, and not to mention, it might be 93 miles an hour because the heel moves slower than the toe, but also because the face is going to twist, right? The face is going to twist when I hit it off the heel, and it's not going to transfer that energy to the ball. So I'm giving it less energy with less clubhead speed here. And then also I'm transferring less of that 93 miles an hour clubhead speed, which is 100 miles an hour here. I'm transferring less of that to the golf ball because the club face is twisting. So this is the absolute worst place to hit the ball, because one, you're losing a ton of distance because there's less speed here, and two, you're losing a ton of distance and accuracy if you're hitting it here, because when the face twists, the ball will start more to the left than normally would if you're right-handed, and then the ball will tend to fade more or draw less, right? So that face can really twist down, and a lot of times the ball will go really low as well, because when the face closes, it de-lofts, right? So imagine it twisted like that, like the club face is pointed down toward the ground, right? I haven't changed the shaft lean or anything, right? Assuming everything's the same, all I do is just twist the face down. Now that club face is pointing down to the ground, it's not going to go anywhere, right? So I would look at your strike and see where you're striking on the face. That can certainly have, something to do with it. But let's say that you're hitting it dead center of the face every time. Like even though you hit it dead center of the face, you're swinging 100 miles an hour, but it's going 220. Then you're more than likely you're hitting down on it, maybe, right? So you're hitting down, and it's not getting up in the air. You're hitting down on it, hitting it with lots of spin. It's just not getting up in the air enough, right? It could also be that your driver's not a good fit for you. It could be that your driver's cracked or something like that. Those would all be things I'd be looking into. All right, let's get going. So Paul S says, I'm curious about getting into the golf teaching business. What was your path? Where did you start? Any schools you prefer? So basically how I got started is when I was in college, I basically was assistant coach for the golf team. So I had used up all my years of eligibility, and I still wanted to play golf for free at the clubs because they paid for the memberships. I played in college, used up all my eligibility, was still in school finishing up my degree, and then basically I had a good relationship with the coach, and he said that basically I could be an assistant coach, and basically I got all the playing privileges and all that. So I helped coach the team, and then when I was doing that, I kind of just did it because so that way I could play golf. But then I actually started enjoying it. It was helping a lot of the golfers with their games, and they were getting better and shooting lower scores and things like that. So I realized that I kind of had a knack for it. But I didn't go to school for golf coaching. I went to school for mechanical engineering. So didn't go into it right away. Went into actually did engineering, worked a desk job basically for 7 years in the engineering business, and basically was coaching a little bit, but not very much. And but I was just learning and learning and learning and learning all the time, just learning about the golf swing, basically trying to learn everything I could about the golf swing and research. I didn't go to any school. That may surprise some people, but I didn't go to any school to coach golf. Um, Everything that I learned, I just learned as much as I could. I studied golf swings. So you can kind of think of it as, school of you know, I'm not sure what the proper term is, but basically I didn't go to any professional school. You don't have to go to a professional school to teach golf. Um, and I looked into the PGA route, but to be honest with you, I have no interest in being a club pro. I don't have any interest in running a golf club. I have zero interest in that. My interest is just teaching and helping people. So yeah, that's why I didn't go that route. So basically, what ended up happening is I just kind of reached out to a lot of coaches that I followed and respected, and Clay was one of those. And I was kind of right place, right time. We started talking, and and then he basically hired me to as an independent contractor to do some lessons, and the feedback was good. Students were improving, and then eventually they hired me as a full time coach. So my route's probably different than a lot of other golfers' routes, but that's basically the route that I went in. But like I said, I don't have any. I didn't go to PGA. I didn't get any. Now I do have some certifications as far as like I've done the TPI training. I've done a lot of trainings and stuff like that, but I don't have any. I didn't go to the PGA thing. And to be honest with you, from what I understand about the PGA thing, they don't really teach you that much about the golf swing. Like I said, the PGA, and nothing against those guys or anything. There's a lot of great teachers that are PGA, um, you know, teachers. But they learned about the swing, I believe, in the same way that I have, or anybody else that knows a lot about it. You learn by seeing a lot of golf swings and try to understand exactly what's going on. And I have a mechanical engineering degree, so I understand kind of the physics, maybe a little bit better than the average person. So, and that's really a lot of what it is. It's physics and stuff of forces and things that are going on. So that's essentially what my path is. But yeah. Gene W says clubhead speed isn't much faster than five wood. Yeah, so that might mean that your driver just isn't fit for you, right? That might be what's going on. Your driver does not fit you. If your clubhead speed now, your driver. I don't have a 5 wood, so I don't know exactly what the difference between the 5 wood length and driver length is. I know my 3 wood is about 2 inches shorter. I believe the 3 wood's like 43 and a half. My driver's 45 and a half. But yeah, and then my clubhead speed with my 3 wood is typically, 7 miles an hour slower. So it's not a lot slower. So I don't know your definition of much faster, and mine might not be the same. But that's definitely something I would look at. Tendency is the heel start. Yeah, if you're hitting the ball in the heel, that could just be it. You lose a lot of distance hitting the ball on the heel, a lot. So yeah, I would definitely try to get that tendency more toward the toe. So the way I would kind of train that, and Chet, I'll answer your question here in a second. I just saw Gene's below that. What I would try to do is just change your intention to hitting it out here. Use the foot power spray. I actually have foot power spray sprayed on this face here. Spray it on the club face. Do everything you can to hit out here. Change your intention to hitting it out here. See if you can get 10 in a row there on the toe. Then just tone it down, and you'll get it more in the center of the face. And I would just do strike training. So strike training would be where you would go out and use the foot power spray and then intentionally hit it on different parts of the face. So hit one off the toe, hit one off the heel, hit one off the center. And if you do that, that gives you a better awareness of the face, and you'll hit more shots in the center when you do that. But if you ever start having a tendency, do the opposite of that tendency and see if you can get like 5, 10 in a row, on the opposite end of that, and then just tone it down to get it more in the center of the face. So if you ever start hitting it in the heel, try to hit it off the toe, right? And you keep doing that until you actually start hitting the ball off the toe. And then your intention is matching the reality of what's going on. Then you can go from there. So Chet M says, please review why the right shoulder is important to striking the ball first, then the ground. Well, if we drop the right shoulder early, you're going to tend to hit the ground behind the ball, right? So assuming you're talking about right-handed golfers, if I go up to the top and then I just drop my right shoulder down, so if I just go up to the top and go like that, look what's going to happen to the club. I'm just going to throw it into the ground, right? So we definitely want that right shoulder to be moving down. We just don't want it to drop really, really early. Right, so that's the reason why. And if our right shoulder, if we kind of move up, right? So if we're here and then we kind of stand up and our right shoulder doesn't move down toward the golf ball very much, then you're going to tend to thin shots, right? Your club's going to bottom out at the ball, right? So we want that right shoulder to kind of be working down toward the ball. We don't want it to be dropping back behind us. We want it to be working down toward the ball. But also, if you move that right shoulder down, you release the club early, you're going to hit the ground behind the ball. So basically, things have to be matched up with what the right shoulder is doing. It's not just my right shoulder does this, X happens. If your right shoulder does something, you have to pair it up with the movement, with the other movements that go with it, right? So just like if my right shoulder doesn't move down toward the ball, well, if I rotate through with a ton of shaffling, well, the club's not going to get to the ball. So if I kind of stand up out of it, my right shoulder doesn't rotate underneath. Well, I got to release the club to get to the ball, and that's what a lot of people do. So JB says, my driver's swing speed is about 85 miles per hour. What is the ideal launch angle under normal conditions? My driver is 10.5 degree loft. My loft is adjustable, tailor-made style. So, yeah, it's typically going to be somewhere between 12 and 16 degrees is typically going to be pretty good. That's typically about the optimal launch angle. Typically, higher is better as long as you're hitting it in the center of the face and you're hitting up on it, right? Now, if you're getting a high launch angle because you're hitting it off the top of the face, well, that's not really ideal, right? But if you're getting, somewhere between 12 and 16 launch, and you're hitting it in the center of the face and you're hitting up on it, that's usually going to be pretty good. Paul S. says, this might be a chicken or the egg question, but what do you think is more important in the golf swing, good tempo or good technique? That's a good question. I never really thought about that. I mean, it's definitely important to find, I would say technique is probably the more important. They're both very important, but, if I have to choose one or the other, it's like, I would say, what's better food, a burger or pizza? Like, they're both really good, right? It's hard to say. So, tempo is important, but I don't think it's quite as important as technique. You can hit good golf shots with bad tempo. You can, absolutely. But so that's the way I would kind of think about it. You can hit good golf shots. You can hit a shot that is passable with poor tempo, right? If you have a fast backswing, slow down swing, whatever it is, you can hit good golf shots. But if your technique is really bad, you won't be able to get the ball to go anywhere near the hole. So let's say, for example, we think of it in an extreme sense. Let's say I open up the face so much that when I'm coming down to the ball, basically this is what's coming at the ball. So that's my technique. Well, it doesn't matter what my tempo is, that is never ever going. If this is what's hitting the ball, that's never ever going to be a good shot. Whereas I can have fast tempo, slow tempo, but if my technique is good, I can get the ball to go in the direction. So I'd say technique. That's the way I'm kind of thinking about it. I would say technique is the most important thing, but tempo is also important. You kind of have to find your own tempo that works best for you. Everybody's a little bit different. You can look at Freddie Couples, look at John Rahm, two very different tempos, right? But Masters winners, right? So you can definitely, do well with different tempos and different techniques, but techniques more important. All right, we got about 20 minutes left here. If we got any more questions. So Paul S says, is there a section in the Toxic Golf system that focuses on the mental side? There, I can't remember. So let me see here. So just to kind of show you, if you want to see all the sections that we offer, like all the courses that we offer, if you click the house icon at the top of the page, that will take you to the home page. And then if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see all the courses, right? So like I'm looking at it, I'm seeing 20-minute shallowing fix, 20-minute distance fix, stable foot spine, power turn, top speed lag, compression line, straight line release, wedge system, chipping mastery, putting system. So there's some bonus courses. Now I'm on the administrator site, so there may be stuff that I can see that you can't. There is a Master of the Mental Game series, but I don't know if everyone has access to that. But if you do, all you have to do is click the instruction tab, then, or not the instruction tab, click the house icon at the top of the page, and then on the home page, scroll down. If you scroll down toward it's one of the courses it's basically toward the bottom. If you see a Master of the Mental Game, then you have access to it. That may be a bonus course that not everyone has access to. So I apologize if you don't have access to it. I can't remember. There was. I don't know exactly who has access to what. A lot of it depends on when you became a member and all that stuff. But that's part. But if you're looking for, our expertise really isn't in the mental game. It's really just kind of the swing itself. If you're looking for good mental game stuff, there's some great books out there. Basically, any book by Bob Rotella is good. Any book by him is good. There's a book that I just read that I thought was pretty good. How to Escape from Suckville or something like that, or something like that. I can't remember who the author is, but he works with a lot of PGA players in the mental game. I think he's worked with Victor Hovland a little bit. I think he's worked with a lot of players. So I thought that was a good book. It's not necessarily specific to golf, but it's more specific. It's really for any athlete. I think it's good. Mental game. Let's see if I have any other mental game books I like. Oh, this one. I don't think this is a Bob Rotella book. This was one from Joseph Parent. I like this one. This is called Zen Golf. It's good. There's another one here. It's called Fearless Golf. This one is by Dr. Gio. I might be butchering his name, but Gio Valiante, something like that. Fearless Golf, that was a good one. I have some Bob Rotella books, but Bob Rotella's got a ton of them. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that one. But he's got a ton of them. Let's see here. Oh, Golf in the Kingdom. That's a good one. I probably enjoyed this. I enjoyed this one a lot. Golf in the Kingdom. That's kind of a mental book as well. Michael something. The price tag's covering it up. Michael Murphy read this one. Yeah, I like that one. So yeah, definitely some options there. That's what I would kind of look at. I didn't even realize that I have 2 Golf in the Kingdom books. I must have bought it twice for some reason. I just realized that now. But yeah, those would be some good mental game books I'd check out. Plus, if you have access to that course, I'd check it out. All right. So Paul says, I'm working on shallowing the club. I can get the first 10 to hook, but when I try hitting out to the right. My ball goes fairly straight. I can't see to hit it out to the right when I am standing square to the target. So what I would do is I would make sure that you use the so basically, within the 20-minute, it seems like people overlook this for some reason, but within the 20-minute shallowing fix, we have the initial thing. Like, so in drill number 2, we tell you just try to swing out to the right. Well, if that doesn't work, then you got to go to plan B. So plan B is putting the obstacle in the way. So put the obstacle in the way. So that could be like you take the golf balls out, but you take a box of balls. Clay uses an impact bag. You don't have to have an impact bag. Just anything that you can put in the way that won't damage your club in case you hit it. Right? So I'm going to put this behind and a little bit to the right of my ball. I'm going to set up to it, and I'll actually just set up to it already behind it, so that way it's not in the way of my backswing. And then now I have to swing and avoid hitting that obstacle and hit the ball. All right, so if you're getting the face closed, right, then you can do that. Now, let's say you do that, and no matter what you do, you smack that box. Well, at that point, we have to regress things to where we can do them, right? So a regression might mean going slower. A regression might mean taking a shorter swing. It might be doing both. And then once you regress things, so imagine if I asked you, could you do this if you took a swing that took 10 seconds, right? So that would mean I'm going to set up to this. I'm going to put this behind. Now I'm going to take a 10-second swing where I come in, I hit that ball, and I avoid hitting that box, right? So you don't have to time it, but I'm just saying, like, if you took a very, very slow swing, do you think you can do it? Most people watching this are probably like, yeah, I could do exactly what Quentin did there. But that might be where your starting point is, right? Now, obviously, you could probably even do it in a much faster swing from that, but that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that you have to regress things to where you can do them, and then you progress them from there. That's the key to progression. This is what I think why a lot of people don't get better, is because they're not willing to regress things to where they can do them and then progress them from there. So, they're like, I can't swing out to the right. Well, you can. You're just not going slower or regressing things to where you can. Once you do that, then you get stronger and you get better from there, and then you try to progress it. The goal is to progress it back up to a full speed, full length swing, but you may need to regress it to a shorter, slower swing in order to get better. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get out on the course and hit little chip shots in every shot. It just means that that's what you need to do in your practice to work up to a faster and longer swing. So regress things to where you can do them. Anything that you've ever learned to do fast, you've done it this way. So if you learn to play a musical instrument, you didn't just grab it and just start playing the first time, just start playing it super fast and perfectly, right? You went slow, you went to go between notes, and then eventually you started getting better and better and better, and you start to go fast. Learning how to type, same kind of thing. You just didn't start typing super fast, right? You were pointing and pecking, memorizing the letters, and then you figured out how to put your fingers on the keyboard. Then you started to go faster and faster and faster. And you made mistakes along the way, but then, as your brain started kind of figuring out, you started going faster and faster and faster. So it's the same thing in the golf swing. The difference is, and the reason why a lot of people struggle with this is because you're already playing golf, right? You're already doing it. So it's like you already learned how to type, but now I'm taking the keyboard and I'm flipping it upside down. So now you have to learn how to type on an upside down keyboard, right? So you're doing the same thing. You're still typing. You just have to learn to do it in a very different way, right? So when you do that, you have to break them down, go slow. So just go as slow as you have to go to be able to do it, and then build it up from there. Or go as short as you have to go. You may need to do both, but yeah, try to do it in like a half swing at slow speed, and just really focus on getting the movement, making sure that you're getting to work from the inside. Get comfortable with that. And that's the other thing too, is get out of your comfort zone. Because if you stay in your comfort zone, you're just going to stay right where you're at, because your comfort zone is the same as what you're doing, right? So if it doesn't feel awkward, if it doesn't feel weird or out of your comfort zone, it's probably not different than what you're currently doing, right? So get out of your comfort zone. And then once you do that and get some reps in, you'll start getting more comfortable with being out of your comfort zone. And then you'll start getting better and better and better. So Gene W says, what is the difference between an iron swing and a driver swing? The main difference is just where you're contacting the ball, right? So for an iron swing, I'm contacting the ball more toward the middle of my stance, right? So that means I'm going to hit down and through the ball, right? I'm coming in, my club is arcing down into the ball. I'm hitting the ground where the ball is, right? And then, I want to take a divot, so I'm contacting the ball there. So when I do this, I'm typically going to have a narrower stance, right? Because that's going to help me to get more to my lead side, right? Because I need to get the bottom of my swing to be in front of the golf ball. I'm also going to typically have a narrower stance because I don't need to shift my weight a ton to create a lot of power. See, when I'm hitting irons, or when you're hitting clubs that you want to hit a set distance, you want to swing fairly within yourself. Whereas with a driver, right, we can be a little bit more aggressive with the driver, because typically if we hit the driver farther, it's a plus, it's a bonus, right? So if we can, if you hit your driver 20 yards farther than what you normally do because you got into one a little bit, that's a bonus. If you're trying to hit your 7-iron 160 yards and you hit it 180 instead, when you're trying to hit it 160, the flag is 160, right? Then that's usually not going to be a bonus. That's usually going to lead to, a bogey or maybe sometimes worse, right? So yeah, we want to have a more within ourselves swing. So that's why you see a lot of, there's most tour players, I would say, have a longer driver swing than they do an iron swing. A lot of times the iron swing is right here. So if you look at Tiger, for example, Tiger, this is his iron swing. This is his driver swing, right? So he really winds up a lot more because he's trying to get that ball. The whole point of the driver is trying to get it to go out there as far as he can, right? So a lot of times the driver swing is a little bit longer. And we're going to be a little bit wider because I can shift pressure harder. If I can create more speed by shifting and creating more ground force. If I have a little bit wider of a stance, I can push harder and shift harder. So that's why you typically see a wider stance. It also helps you when you have a wider stance to stay more back behind the ball, so that way you can hit up on it. So with a driver, I'm hitting up on it. All right. Now the last thing with the driver and the iron that's different is if you want to have similar ball flights with both. So let's say you want to draw both, you're going to need to shallow out your driver more than your irons because the ball position's more forward, right? So with an iron, right? So let me use my hula hoop to illustrate, right? So the club works around our body, right? So if I have my iron on the tape here, this is the middle of my stance. If I have the ball position there, my club is working into out, into out, into out. It turns the corner at the ball. It neutralizes at the ball. After the ball, it works to the left around my body. Well, if I keep that same amount of shallowing, right, that same swing direction with my driver, and now my ball position's up here by my left hand, well, now my club's going to be coming down. It's working into out, into out. Now it's turning the corner and it's working to the left. Well, the only way I'm going to draw it with a path that's out to in relative to the target is if I have my face closed. So that ball's going to start left and it's going to go more to the left, right? So if I want to hit a draw at the target with my driver, I actually need to shallow out the club more. So that way this club is kind of neutralizing at the ball or working slightly into out at the ball. But if I have the same swing direction as my irons, then my club's going to work to the left. So that's the other difference. That's why a very common question or a very common things tell me in the office hours is that, hey, I've worked through the 20-minute shallowing fix with my irons. I'm getting my irons are drawing great, but I can't get it to work with the driver. So, but what we want to realize is that you have to shallow out the club more with the driver because the ball position is more forward, right? Now, you might think, well, why don't I just put the ball position in the same place and then I don't have to worry about it? The problem with that is if we put the ball position in the same place, now you're hitting down on your driver, and now you're going to lose distance by doing that because basically you're coming down like this on your driver, and we want to hit like that on the driver, right? We want it to come up into the ball so that way we can launch it high with low spin. If we launch it low with high spin, it's not going to go as far, right? So we don't want to place it to back in our stance because then that's going to lead to that typically. So Chet M says, "What is your advice for picking the golf ball that you use?" So basically, what we want to understand is that all the golf balls go the same distance for the most part. None of them, even if they say like distance plus whatever, they 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 all really go pretty much the same distance, like within a few yards of each other. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between a Pinnacle and a Pro Fee as far as distance wise is concerned. Now, where you're going to really see more of the distance is one, how the ball feels and how the ball spins, right? So if you're someone who likes a softer feeling ball and you like to have spin, then I would recommend having some sort of tour caliber type ball. So like a Pro V1 or things like that. Now, the problem with that is that those can be pretty expensive, right? $50+ a dozen. So there are some golf balls out there that are tour caliber balls that are not break the bank type of balls. So that for a ball that I would recommend would be like the Snell golf balls. The Snell. Now they kind of changed the names a little bit of the balls. They just come. I think they just came out with a new ball. I haven't tried the new ones yet, but these are the ones that I still have. I still have some of my MTB blacks left over, but these are awesome. So these are $30-some a dozen, basically 40% off of what a Pro V1 is. I love Pro V1s. I think Pro V1s are awesome golf balls. I played them in college. Basically played them. Those are the golf balls that I played until these guys came around. So Snell actually was one of the original engineers on the. I believe I don't remember if he's an engineer or not, but he was a part of the team that came up with the original Pro V1 that basically, kind of revolutionized the golf ball market. Because before that it was just like, Ballard and really, really soft cover balls that had spin, but just didn't go very far and weren't very durable, right? And then they came up with the Pro V1 that spins and is very durable and goes far. It has everything that you want. And then all the other golf ball, all the other golf ball companies created a similar golf ball, and then, now we have all these great golf balls. So you're most likely not going to be able to tell a huge difference between a TaylorMade TP, their tour caliber golf ball, Callaways, Bridgestones. They're all pretty much the same. And to the recreational golfer, if you put no label on all of these golf balls, I would venture to say you would not be able to tell the difference. I don't think I could. And I'm just saying, like, I really don't think I could. I think I could hit a Snell. I could hit a TaylorMade TB5. I could hit a Pro V1. I could hit a Bridgestone B30 330 or whatever it is, and the Chrome, Callaway, whatever their tour ball is. I could hit all those balls, and I could confidently tell you I don't think I could tell the difference between any of them, because they're really not that big of a difference between them. So they're all gonna spin pretty well. So if you want a golf ball that spins and that has good, they all go relatively the same distance, it has a soft feel, I recommend the Snell MTB Black. They do not pay me. They do send us free golf balls. So you could say I'm a little bit biased because of that. That's fair. But I've also bought my own because I didn't, want to take some of the free ones that I had. So I bought them too. So it doesn't mean I won't ever, like, I got a sleeve of Pro V1s when I played in a tournament a couple of months ago, and I've used those. I still like them, but if I'm buying golf balls, I'm buying the Snell ones because they're just really good golf balls that go the same distance. So and feel good. Now, if you don't care about that, if you don't care about the spin, let's say you get plenty of spin off of any golf ball, then don't waste your money on expensive golf balls, because they're more expensive. You can pay $20 a dozen for cheap ones, but they're all going to go relatively the same distance. So Jerry B says, what part does the lower body play in a greenside bunker play? Not much, more just stability. A greenside bunker shot is going to be mostly arms and hands. So it's not that it's doing nothing. It's just that we're not coming into a bunker shot like this, right? Greenside, It's more I'm using my body, my lower body for stability to basically a bunker shot. I'm going to be like that, right? So you can see how my lower body just doesn't do much. It's more hands and arms that's powering the greenside bunker shot because I want to keep loft on the club and I want to use the bounce of the club. So I want to release it basically when I feel like I'm smacking the sand with the back of the club. Jerry C says, oldie inner game of golf has helped me a bunch. I think you're talking about books. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'll have to check that one out. So we got a few questions left. We're over time here, so I'll just answer these questions as quickly as I can, and then we'll wrap it up from there. And then we'll be back here tomorrow. So Pharmacite says, for someone with slower swing speed of 80 to 90 miles on a driver, what kind of ball should I use? We just went over that. All the golf balls are going to go the same distance. Just a matter of, do you want a softer feeling ball and a ball that spins? I would go with the Snell. Or if you want to spend money on a Pro V1 or whatever, that's totally fine too. So Dan S says, with driver, I generally center the ball between my feet with that like a V, heels together and toes apart at 45 degrees from heel. I then I think it means move my left foot forward an inch or do my right foot about 2 feet to the right. My drives are running 230 to 260, many a slight draw. Right down the middle. Sometimes I pull to left side. Sometimes I push fade to right side of fairway. Not sure if this is the ball being slightly closer to the left foot or slightly farther away from the left foot. Is it foot or wrist changing? Face angle thoughts. Sounds like you're just coming down steep. So when you pull it, you're coming down steep with a closed face. When you fade it, you're coming down steep with an open face. So I'd work through the 20-minute shallowing fix with your driver. Instruction tab, 20-minute shallowing fix. Work through it with your driver. So viewer says pulling chip shots and longer pitch shots. Yeah, so steep, you're just coming down steep. So swing more out to the right. Swing into out, and so basically if you're doing that, so let's say the target is the outlet here, right? If you're pulling the ball, then you're going like this. Your path is working out in. So if you're a right-handed golfer, swing toward first base on your chips and your pitches, and you'll start hitting them straighter. All right, thanks everybody for joining. We'll be back here tomorrow, Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. I gotta go. I didn't realize we were that far over time, so we'll talk to you next time.